And this is actually one of the big features of it, the fluorescent paints. Look at that yellow just kind of glowing right there. Is that not pretty cool? Then there was the long lost brown matter, which somehow didn't get made in the first round. This is another new color that I snagged and looking forward to using this. It was always one of my favorite oil and watercolor paints. And then these were a couple of the old Wintons. We'll get to this too while we're working around here. I just want to compare for you the difference between this and, say, Payne's Gray. And you've seen me use the Payne's Gray an awful lot. And basically the difference between these two, aside from one bottle being dirtier, I think you can even see it on camera. This has a little bit more of a blue to it. And this is just, it's kind of warm and kind of neutral. We're going to try them both here. I actually really haven't hardly used this at all. This, I always call it more of an additive than anything else, okay? Because we would add it to, I don't know, cerulean blue to make a gray. We would add it to the brown matter to make it that much darker. That's why I have a couple of miniatures out here, especially something like our last of the Targaryen riders that doesn't have any oils on him yet. I'm going to make my screen a little bit bigger here so I can kind of maximize what I can see. Here are the two that we did in the last session here. And you can also see that the shininess starting to go away, right? But look at the skin tones there, all the different pinks and greens. You can really start to see those now. But speaking of greens, you see them even in the horses in their shadow areas. And we can still work with these now. Are they dry to the touch? Yes, they are. It was only a couple of days ago that I was working on these things. And by a couple of days, I mean less than 48 hours, maybe 36 hours ago. I was still working on these guys. And you can obviously still watch that stream. Yeah, it was like Monday, wasn't it? No, I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was Tuesday's stream. Sure enough, but I just love the horses sculpted by Big Child Creatives. And what I want to do is definitely try out this little combination here. See if this works the way I think it's going to. Let's start to put these guys out on the palettes here. Now, if you're wondering what these are, okay, so the brown matter in question to make this, to get it into the jar, mixing your white spirits here on the right with your paint over here on the left. And you're going to see this an awful lot because people will ask, and I will be constantly grabbing these two to show people how they get made. It's Numbskull. How you doing? He's first. You are for Lady B is probably going to be joining us in a little bit. I think she is maybe getting some chow. Now, did you? I don't know if you saw the beginning part of it, but these are some of the new paints. I just did a video on this. Oh, and actually for the subscribers, I actually sent the video of how I made these to them too. So I'll be mentioning that a few times here, but this is your fluorescent paints here and here. This is an ivory black. I haven't used this one at all. We're going to be adding that to, this is a new color that I very rarely had a chance to try, my brown matter. This is another new one that should be fun, especially here. I've got a couple of chances to do some sky earth non-metallic, so we're going to try that on here. So you did get it? Okay, I just noticed the other day, wait a minute, I can send emails to the subscribers. I wonder if they might like a video. So I sent the link, and well, I'm glad that it actually, the email went through. It went through to me. I emailed myself, apparently. I didn't know you could subscribe to yourself. Who'd have thought it? Beef in the hole. How you doing? I think, well, you saw Lady B will be joining us soon enough. But these are the new, I just made these earlier today. So we've got our fluorescents here, our fluorescent orange, our fluorescent green. And actually these are two. Hey, oh, thank you for the cheer. Thank you for the cheer, Armored Wolf. And let's see, we're going to, oh, look at that. Look at all that. Look at all that stuff. That spell brush right there, he is taking a little sip of that. Well, thank you very much for the cheer. And speaking of Armored Wolf, dice bag time. go check out Armored Wolf's Etsy page, and they can also type that link over there in the Hey Chronimus, how's it going? Yeah, you can type that over there in the chat, a little link to there, because Kathy and I have one of their dice bags. We will eventually have definitely some more. And I've actually painted on some of the dice bags in oils, these very same oils. So, and that's actually on the YouTube channel. So here's their ivory black, and we're going to put this out here. I'm just dying to see what that looks like. Oh my goodness. Now you can't really tell so much on the palette cam, but I can see the blue here, and I can see the not blue over here. So this is literally the first, it's the inaugural spritz of the of the ivory black right there. Well, we're certainly going to do some brown matter. We're going to put that over here. I'm going to have our cerulean blue. That's going to go right here, because oh, look at that. Look at that sweet cerulean blue. I love it. Haven't used that in so long. Now, eventually we'll throw out these fluorescents, because I got me a glaive wraith somewhere around here. I've got some Army of the Dead. Aha, I do have Army of the Dead. Good. But this was painted in oils, but not. It's Pascal. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're watching the Lady Galadriel. That was a wild one. I mean, I love me some waterfalls. I gotta try and do that on some Dol Amroth Rangers, I think. So we're gonna try our fluorescent, well, not the orange so much, but we'll try our fluorescent green and the cerulean blue on our glaive wraith here. Also, again, got some Army of the Dead. Where that I just saw them. There they are. Boom. We'll also try it on these guys too. So later in the broadcast. So Pascal, I saw your. Now, did you finish the one kind of ethnic girl right there? That one was really neat. I like that one for sure. And I saw your new kind of a sci-fi figure that you were working on there. So yeah, give Pascal a follow too. And Pascal can even put his own shout out in there if he so chooses. So brown matter is over there. Might get my burnt sienna over here. Where's my ochres and umbers? There's my raw sienna over there. We're just sort of organizing things. You know, I'm gonna go with the raw umber over here. So let's see what we can do here with some of these guys. I really want to try my brown matter alizarin. Look at how that just comes right out of there, just like miniature paint. When I was mixing these fluorescents here. Oh, Instagram for Pascal. Oh, let's see. The Sad Fairy Tale. Oh, not yet. It's one of those projects you pick up now and then. Aha. Okay. Where's my... Aha. So here is the... So this went into this, and when I squeezed the paint out of here, and like I said, if you are a subscriber, I sent you the video of me making that. It looked like a paint log. I mean, that's basically what it looked like. I'm like, this is freaky. That was just wild. All right, burnt sienna time, and then next to that is going to be our brown matter on the palette for the very first time.
Who enters my domain?
Thunderdome enters the domain, and actually give him a follow as well. Go check him out, because he just got himself...
little hobbit, spark my ganja.
Hey, Rumble, how you doing? How are you doing? We're putting out some brand new colors here that I've not used before. So there it is. This is one of the new paints right here. Hey, Jokaloops, how's it doing? Oh, we got Rumble. I'm just looking to see who all is rating. Well, and hey, Kevin Kitsune, how you doing? So that brown matter, this combination of these guys right here. Thank you very much, Thunderdome, for the raid. It is appreciated. So yeah, these are some of the new ones, especially these guys right here. So there's my fluorescents. We'll try the fluorescent green on stuff like these guys right here on our glaive wraith and on our Army of the Dead. But I did want to give my brown matter over here a shot on the last of the Targaryen horsies. Hey, Oblate, how you doing? And it's Fast Axe. How are you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in. Now this one already had that sort of pre-glazing on there. And oh, I did want to show some folks here since there's more folks here now. So I was just painting these Tuesday, practically Tuesday morning, and look at this. They're dry. That's all. I didn't do anything to them. They're not sealed. Nothing. This is just me painting, me stopping about, I don't know, 36-ish hours ago, and they're completely dry to the touch. Nothing, no problems, nothing to worry about here. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit our new horse here. I just want to make sure I got enough stuff to work with here. I'm going to get my little container here that's got my white spirits in it. So let's just do this right here. Little container, white spirits inside. And Thunder, you saw those links that I sent you, right? I think? Yeah, I think you saw those. We're also going to try ourselves some of our olive green here. Let's throw out a little bit of cadmium red here, maybe for some skin tone. Just get a little bit of this out there. You can see this stuff all kind of comes out just like regular miniature paint. That is what's sweet about it. So here's my olive green. Yeah, I was actually surprised that the Winsor Newton one, they actually did call it white spirits, because some of the other versions I've seen of that, they don't call it white spirit, they call it something else. I don't know, whatever. But I was pleased that they actually finally called it white spirit. So let's get a little bit of this. This is some of the permanent green here. I gotta be careful with this new container because it's full. I mean, like chock full of paint. I'm gonna move some of these paint off to the side here. Let's grab ourselves some brushes and let's do the thing with the thing. On this thing, we'll start hitting our horsey first. And this is our, again, our brown matter. Full name, typically I've seen it called, is brown matter alizarin. Hey, Bookend Kitties, how's it going? Well, thanks. You can always, well, you can catch these tomorrow or later today, as the case might be, whenever you are awake. But thanks for dropping by. Thunder. So basically, the thinner it is, the faster it dries. It is. It's simple physics and math. Because just to get the paint into these jars, it's at least 50% white spirits. In some cases, more like 60% white spirits. You just reduce 60% of the drying time. You are going to see me on here thin it down more to some cases 95% white spirits. You've taken away 95% of the drying time. And if you just assume that oil paint right out of the tube takes, say, 3 days to dry, and right out of these bottles, you're at a day and a half, just because you're right out of the bottles and you've cut down the amount of oil in there. Just imagine what the further cutting down is going to do. Plus you're also, and I'll show you what this palette is in a second, you're actually taking away some of the oil here too, just on the palette all by itself. Because it's absorbing some of this, it's absorbing some of the oils. And we're also going to do something like this. We've got our magic sponges, like so. Poof. I love their horses, Kevin, because I love the horses. I just really love them. So we can take away some of the excess even here. Because remember, this is the whole point of oils, is to slap the paint on here and start mixing around. Otherwise, might as well just be using acrylics. Alright, so we took some of that away. Now I will show, this is just the best example right here. So this was done also in oils, right? Back here, I literally took 4 or 5 colors, just kind of slapped them around. Some lighter green up here, cooler green over here, some of the magenta in here, and I just started to push it around with another brush. That is the power, the true power of oils. Is that, yeah, the extended drying time, for sure, but this notion that you can just plop some colors on there, like here, let's try ivory black. It's an inaugural test here on a miniature. Again, it's an additive, it's not a color of itself. I didn't even wash the brown matter out of the brush. That's still in there because it's mixing with that black. The idea is make that brown matter that much darker, that much richer. Now we're also going to take some of the Payne's gray. That's a little bit more blue. And we've got to be willing to let things mix. That is the... You have to be willing to let it look like a god-awful wreck, a total mess, because guess what? It's exactly what this boy looked like. I mean, it looked like absolute nothing until we kept working the oils, and you just create a little more shading, and the next thing you know, poof, you got shading. Now, where is my... I'm looking for my raw umber here. Just give me 1 second to find that, to chase that down here, because I wanted to use that as a base of a skin tone. So I'm going to throw you over here. I say I'm going to have to refill these guys. They're actually starting to run dry. Man, I didn't think I've been using my oils that much, but I guess I have. Here's my raw umber. Boy, I've been using this a lot too. My goodness. These things are starting to run almost empty. So time for a little bit of skin tone here. Let's get a little bit of that. Touch of that brown matte. And this is where we kind of absorb some of the paint into the palette, which is, oh, I mean, this is highly technical stuff right here. Piece of cardboard and a piece of parchment paper. Same exact parchment paper that I use for my acrylics, except it's just sitting on a piece of cardboard instead of my homemade wet palette. So we are doing our quick stabby stab here. You're just getting this paint on here. That's what you're trying to do. It's no different than acrylics. We're covering the entire figure, except we get to, oh, I don't know, throw a bit of green in there. Start to do some mixing. So what in the world is green doing in those leathers? Actually, if you talk to leather folks, you'd be surprised at the colors that end up in leathers. What about all that green that you always want to get in skin tones? What if you could just, like, I don't know, in the first 5 minutes of messing around with a miniature, get those greens into those shadow areas of the skin tones? Like, oh, I don't know, like what just happened. Again, power of the oils. What they can do is amazing. Oh, look at this. We're going to take that same color here, going to mix it with our brown matter, and all of a sudden, now we're starting to mix in some lighter tones. And it all, again, is going to initially just be that god-awful mess. You just have to kind of live through that initial shock that happens. When you're used to it, you're just entertaining yourself. You just kind of go, yeah, that's about right. Whatever. Okay, that's good. Yeah, whatever. When you're not used to it, you say, what the blankety blank just happened? A little more of our lighter tone. We're going to go back into our, for short, we're going to go back into some of our ivory black, but I also want to show pretty much that's the extent of cleaning the brush right there. You won't see me doing much more than that. You're not going to see me going into those white spirits for thinning the paint, or for washing the brush. It's pretty much just for thinning the paint. Which leads me to the next thing you are going to hear over and over again for those that are new, or for those that have been here forever. Thick paint sticks onto thin paint, and vice versa. And that's the physics of oils. They thick over thick. If you try and do that, the miniature is just going to say, nope, sorry, not happening today. Or what is it in Song of Ice and Fire, whatever, it's not today, right? That was the big phrase. That's what the miniature is going to tell you. It's going to say, heck no, dude, I'm not doing that. Try again. And that's where you thin down the paint with some white spirits. Here, look at this. Check out that. That is almost glaze-like right there. And yes, you can glaze over wet oil paint. It can most definitely be done. We're going to be doing that. Now I'm going to get my rag back over here. I also want to have something that can serve as maybe a blending brush as well. So a brush that has no paint in it. Look at how that's picking up paint. You always have your little rag handy here. And what that's going to let me do again is push this paint around some more. It's going to let me blend it some more. Even in here. Can push it around. So I'm going to just use my fingers even. Take some of that away. And you'll see these muscles, they will just start to like emerge before your eyes. Just like they did on those other horsies that I showed you. This one right here was just a horrible.
Who enters my domain?
Oh, we've got Berserker War doing a raid. So we're going to probably have a whole bunch of, well, I don't know how many sounds there actually will be, but there might be some sounds. So we'll brace for impact, I guess. Again, going into that, look at that brown matter. That is going to make a fantastic skin tone someday. I think so. I do think so. So let's see, Joe Exomnia and Jinxed, how you doing? How are things in the boneyard? So definitely give Jinxed Art a follow. Did you keep working with that green stuff that you were messing around with? I was just doing actually some sculpting here too before I started doing this. Before I started doing some more oils. And we're trying out some of our new paints. I actually will be using some of my fluorescent oil paints. Yeah, that's actually fluorescent oil. Hey, JT Stark, how you doing? There we go. Now, if you can manually type in the shoutouts if you want. I do not have, well, my hands are kind of full anyways, but I don't have anything set up to do the, like a stream deck or anything like that to be able to do the shoutouts. So people can feel free to type shoutouts if they so choose. Or, you know, do a old-fashioned way, just do a link or something along those lines. So you can, what we're doing here, we're just adding some of those lighter colors in the muscles, just like we did with this horsey over here. And eventually we'll start to add in some of the greens. So we add in some of the oranges there in the shadow areas. Oh, Jinxstart has finished another skull painting and started another one for an art show. Well, that's very cool. That is really cool. You'll have to show me. Are you going to stream on, well, tomorrow? Because that's, I think, your normal day is Friday. So we're talking about doing oil glazes, right? Well, we can do that. We can do that in a couple of ways. Here we go. Let's just get some of our, again, our white spirits here. We're going to take some of our Payne's Gray and some of our umber here. And you can look at this. Look at how thin that is. Now, all I have to do is touch that right there, and you can see how the oil just moves itself. I do not brush that on. I just touch it, and it goes. I'll do that again. I just touch it, let it go. Over here, and touch it, let it go. If you're familiar with the vehicle painting, oh, it was dark side. Thank you so much. It's so easy too with the oils. Oh my goodness, especially when you're doing a bunch of them at the same time. So much easier. So look again, we're just gonna tap it right there. We're not trying to control it, we're just tapping the brush there. That's all it is. And we did this exact same process on those other ones too. Now, again, not really cleaning the brush, we're just taking a rag and we're just wiping the paint out of it. We have a second brush that we use as essentially a blending brush. Now we can go a little bit lighter here with our brown matter. And you're also going to hear me say, for the folks that are new, you're going to hear me talking about thick over thin and vice versa. So I've already had to thin down the paint a little bit to be able to get this on. There's also another pathway for this too. So let's just take a little bit of our somewhat lighter tone here and just go boom, boom, boom. Oh, look at this. We're just going to plop a whole bunch of lighter colors on here, like that. And then we're going to take, again, that other brush to use as some kind of blending tool here. Turn it so you can see those nasty hard edges, right? Nasty, horrible, hard edges. Good grief, what are we ever going to do? I'm just going to take that and we're going to just blend our cares away. And just quite literally blend this into those existing colors. Let's do that right here with this big old blob. Just got to take the edge of that, move it around. Let's do the same here. Take the edge of that, move it around. But you got to take that paint off of there. We've got another big old blob right here. Take that blob. We're going to blend the blobs. That's what we do. We take the blob and, oh, yes, Jinxer, you've got to. I think you will have so much fun. It is a little bit of a learning curve. Yes, Jokaloops, it's, oh, good. Thanks for all of the shout-outs there. Appreciate it, because, again, I do not have the stream decks and all that other sort of stuff. So remember, all of those nasty things that we had, those are now gone. Let's switch it around to this side. Again, we've got all kinds of nasty things. We're going to make those disappear. Going to make them all go away. Not completely. They'll still be there, just in a different form. A nice blended form, like you do. So we've got a couple of our blobs over here too. But remember, the beauty of these is that you're working on multiple figures at once. So we won't just get stuck on this guy. We won't just get stuck on him. We'll try and do some things on our other. So we're going to let him kind of just sit there for a while. But let's play over here too. Let's do some stuff on this guy. Now, we haven't done any of our usual sort of pre-wash type activities on this, so let's do that now. We're going to take our umbers here, a little touch of that olive green even. In we go. This is just Badger Steiner Res Primer. For anybody that is curious, that's all it is. So we're going to be doing these. You will see, once I get this on here and let it settle too, you'll see what we're after with this guy. There's going to be some reds on here, some golds. There's going to be some sky earth. It's going to be all kinds of stuff. Again, there's another one of the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures here. Oh, Kuspus. The browns there were just crazy rich. That is that brown matter. I've been looking forward to that for a while. It's not like the umbers are not super fun, but oh my goodness, that brown matter, it is intense. Yeah, I can even mix a little bit of that. Here again, we'll grab some of the ivory black there. And the idea is we're just basically, it's just like a painter would do with a white canvas. They would take something like umber or sienna or ochre or whatever, basically kind of stick it in a paper towel and then just wipe it all across the surface of the canvas to get it away from white. And now this was not white primer. This was actually, I think it was like the Light Flesh Badger Steiner Res primer color. All right. So this is what was on that horse. Now that was all dry. This is now going to be wet. So Mr. Sponge here. And you can also cut the sponge. I got my scissors right here. Let's cut some pieces of this like you do. Simple, just cheap old Amazon specials here. So we're going to wipe away. See how much of that's coming off, but you'll see what it leaves behind. You'll see what that's going to leave behind. Here, let's use our bigger sponge over here on banner. There we go. can see stuff stays behind. And smaller sponge. This is again the true use of oils is multiple figures at one time. All right, here is one that doesn't have that sort of pre-wash on there. So again, you can see how we've emphasized the shadows and the recesses here. Let's see. Oils are not for rocket pepper. Jim, possibly a dumb question, but do you use oils through an airbrush ever? No, well, I don't really paint with the airbrush. I just basically prime with it. So I don't see myself ever doing that because you can see I love the brushes. Yeah, I absolutely love doing the brushes. Oh, we need a sponge emote. Let's see, are you going to paint that death elemental in oils? Yes, that is. So this is the tutorial I just filmed for the Patreon page earlier. So I was just sculpting this to extend it out onto this base. I'm going to sculpt some more skulls over here and some more of these little wispy dudes like this. And then, where's my fluorescent? So, yep, I'll be using the fluorescent green on this guy here. So stay tuned for that. Now I'm going to show you a picture of what he's going to be. So you got that shiny sky earth metal right there on these blads. This is one of my Patreon series right here. I think it was the first Song of Ice and Fire Patreon series. Yeah. Oh, and for those wondering what the fluorescent green does, something like that. There you go. You can see the greens well used there. Let's see. Beef in the Hole has the death element of a creature caster. Just pick one of those up. Yeah, so, well, hopefully it will give you some kind of idea. Some kind of, like you said, inspiration, what you can do with it. Now we've got our cadmium red over here. How's about we mix a touch of our ivory black? Again, we're kind of getting rid of some of that extra paint. Remember, the horse is off to the side because I want, even if it's just 15-20 minutes, you wouldn't believe what kind of blending possibilities emerge when you give yourself that just like 15 minutes or so. We also have to start thinking about reflected light here and reflected colors. So yeah, I think you saw in some of those guys that, all right, you're thinking, see, if this was an armor, if this was a breastplate instead of just a jerkin, you would have to reflect the red of his sleeve onto here. So that's what I mean about those reflected colors. And I know it can drive people nuts sometimes when I keep telling them, reflect this, reflect that. I'm like, reflect what? I said, look at your arm. If that guy's arm is crossed over his chest and he's wearing shiny armor, how does that blue or green or whatever color his sleeve is, how does that magically not reflect anything onto the surface of your shiny armor? Just like the power swords, right? The Space Marine power swords next to really dark armor, and by right next to I mean like 2 inches away, and if it was full size, and yet there's not a single bit of light reflecting on the armor. That's where the kind of the jarring nature of that comes into play. So again, I'm just throwing the red on here. I don't care if it gets over the lion on the banner, because when the yellow hits that, guess what? That red's going to mix into it. Let's get a little bit of red into his armor here. Do the same on his shield. I'm just going to keep every so often looking up here at the chat. That's a beef. Got his question there. That the giant thing there, that was the death elemental from Creature Caster. I also have a bunch of Nurgle things that are sitting around here somewhere that I'm going to paint that are also Creature Caster specials. And we'll be certainly using oils on those. I mean, talk about the thing that's tailor-made for oils would probably be any thin Nurgle. Well, as far as I'm concerned, well, horses are certainly natural candidates for oils. It's Moses Magic. How you doing? Basically, unfortunately, with Kathy streaming during the day, It kind of cuts down on the options, and I also am usually uploading videos like the one actually that I was just filmed today on how you can get your oils thinned down and into a jar like this. So I can't be uploading a video and streaming at the same time. So generally, that's why I kind of have to do these late at night. And it's not always this way. Saturday, I usually try and do something that's a little more North American time friendly. And potentially to, say, on a like a Tuesday evening or something like that. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this green. I'm going to take a little bit of our brown matter again. Throw some of that on some boots here real quick. Again, it's not any kind of a final color. I'm just trying to get things off of the primer. That's all I'm trying to do here. We're going to throw a little bit of green in some of the stones on that tile floor. I see we've got his plume that's going to need to be red here. That's also going to need to reflect on that helmet. So I'm just going to put that there right now so I remember. Just so as I remember. And again, we're going to go back to our halberds here. And you can see where the shinies are going to come from. Anything pointing towards the ground is going to have some kind of a brownishness to it. Anything pointing towards the sky, going to be blue. Let's see. Yeah, this is technically starting early. Oh, I just never want to miss a show. Well, that is fine. Well, you can definitely still watch this tomorrow at a more restful time for you. That's for sure. And I have been taking the raw video of this stuff and kind of remastering it and putting it on YouTube. So there's that. So that's a little more permanent. Once I found out that even if you're partner or something like that, it still goes away after 60 days. I said, okay, well, then I'm just going to make basically hard copies of these things and I'll throw those up on YouTube because, yeah. Now let's see how this guy's doing. So again, I can see that, the paint has had a chance to sit here for a little bit. Yep. So we're going to set him aside. We're going to let him do the same thing. And now we can go back to Mr. Horse. That was what, maybe 15 minutes or so we set it aside? 10, 15 minutes-ish. Already, see, as I push this brush around, there's a little less paint that comes off onto it. And my blends are just smoother. It's amazing what literally a few minutes difference can make. Just a few minutes. I'm going to take some Payne's Gray here. We're going to start to throw in some darks over here. So again, we're going to be, see how that picked up all that green? By the way, these are just number 8 round craft brushes. I will show you these in just a second. I think now you can really start to see the bluish gray nature of Payne's Gray. Now we'll hit our, it's either a scabbard or just a sheath. I mean, I always think of scabbards more for long swords and broadswords. Let's start to, can't really tell yet if he's got some kind of pants on or not, because some of these guys do and some of them just don't. Haven't determined that yet for this guy. But we're also now going to start to get a little bit of our ochre in here now. So just a couple of brush strokes and all of a sudden, poof, there's something there that wasn't there not long ago. And yes, you can paint lighter colors over dark. We can do that right here. We can do that right now. Look at this. You can even go as far as, we want some eyes on the horse, right? But remember, thick over thin, thin over thick. We got some thinner paint here. Boom. There's an eye. All with wet oil paints. We'll do that again. So yes, you can paint detailed stuff with oils. That's, I think, another thing people thought you couldn't do with the oils is paint detailed stuff. Now, let's see. Still with the oils then. Yep, this is just going to be an oil evening tonight. I have some Mears miniatures that those will probably be acrylics actually, because those will have to be dry enough. But see, we're mixing our blue there with our white, and then we can blend this a little bit with what's already there. If I scumble it like that, it's just gonna blend together. Especially on this side, definitely more of a sky. There we go. See if it's thinner. It'll stick. It's gonna blend there. Just kind of happens by itself. And then if we can start to work with some lighter colors as well. The other thing that kind of freaks people out with the oils is that there's no base coat. I'll never forget when somebody asked me, so what's your base coat with oils? I said, well, there is none. And they weren't expecting that. They definitely weren't expecting an answer of none. You just kind of start painting, and that's how it goes. But look at this. So that's wet oil paint over wet oil paint. It can certainly be done. The question is, how thick is the paint underneath, and how thin is the paint on the brush, and vice versa. That's going to determine whether or not it's going to stick. Like right here, it'll work there because of the thinness of the paint. Same thing here. That's why, look at this. It's all blending in. We can make it lighter if we want. But it's always best, again, to work on multiple figures at the same time, because if you do, you really are truly taking advantage of the oils. And it also, you can see, remember we set this guy aside for just a few minutes, the difference that made, and the ability for us to do some blending. Now I'm going to go back here. Here's my brown matter alizarin over here. By scumbling it into my palette paper over here, what that's going to do, takes away some of the oil. Also gets me a nice little filbert looking brush here. And I can start to pick out some lighter tones in these muscles again, as you do. And we'll eventually get into finer brushes, but right now we're sticking with our number 8 rounds. See, if I don't like something, if I don't like anything on this horse, I could just take those sponges and I could wipe the whole thing off. It could be almost back to primer. It's Lady B. She is in here. I always have time. Yes. The dulcet tones, which Mike Disney insists become more dulcet with the application of Jägermeister, which goes back to a few Adepticons ago when I had to teach a class on Thursday, and Thursday morning my voice was already gone. As in, like, mouth opens, no sound comes out. And in desperation, they tried to give me some Jägermeister, and I immediately sounded fantastic, and then just as quickly the sound went away, and then they went sad, and they're like, no, you don't get more. Otherwise, you'll be teaching the class either on the floor or via nude interpretive dance, which I'm always up for, but somehow the hotel frowned on that. Let's see, you can't sue if some crushed glass gets in your eyes. Hey, Gallo Fire, how is it going? We're back with our oils, and now Lady B might not have had a chance to see. This is one of the new paints here that I mixed. There's my brown matter. This is the deepest, richest brownish red. We're also going to be messing with our fluorescent paints. That's what they are. I'm not kidding you. They are fluorescents and they are ready for action. Let's get some lighter colors up here too. But remember, we let this stuff sit for a while. It gives us another chance to do some nice, rich blends. Look at this. Remember what a mess this was just minutes ago? And now it's starting to look a wee bit different. I do want to get some of these skin tone colors on our guy here. So it's Song of Ice and Fire if you're looking for the what these guys are. And I was thinking about, where is that other? Here we go. I was thinking about doing something like this because we were watching Cadfael, I think, earlier tonight, and I saw this type of horse, and I was about we do something like that. But see how I just kind of feathered that brushstroke and it just kind of blended itself. That's what these freaking oils can do. They can quite literally just blend themselves. Now, this is another brush that's kind of fun to use as a blending brush. It's a little bit on the smaller side. So let's pick at some of the edges of that. And we'll blend that too. Did I hear you have made more homemade? Yes, that was the fluorescents. I did the brown matter alizarin. Actually, well, you're subscribed, right? If you are a subscriber, you should have gotten, I don't know, 3-ish, 4-ish hours ago, an email from me to your, whatever your Twitch email is, with the video showing you how I think it was 6 new jars that I made. So that is, again, if you're a subscriber, that should be in your mailbox. That was my little, I wanted to do a thank you for people, and that was, for me, I was like the best way I could think of to do a little bit of a thank you for folks. Now let's start to do some, maybe some lighter
Hello,
tones.
little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you, Corvus. I appreciate the follow. Gandalf certainly approves. Yes, he does. So once again, we put the paint there. I'll twist it so you can see it a little bit better, and then we will just blend that together. Nice and easy like. We'll do some of that over here too. Just blend it together. Nice and easy like. Oh, we were talking about using the ivory black was another. Ooh, look at that. Oh my. So that's ivory black and cerulean blue. I like the gray that that's given me. That is really, wow. Okay. I thought I was going to like it. Now I know I'm going to like it. And what's natural for a horse's fur than some kind of bluish green in the shadows? I say so. That's why it's natural. I say it, therefore it is. I know that horrifies people and freaks them out, but it really does make a big difference in your figure. Guess what? We're getting that in the shadows here. It is just like what we did with this one over here. You can see.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
As Raisa Kawai, if I hope I pronounced that correctly, thank you for the follow. So you can see the greens in there. You can see some of the sienna, some of that reddish orange in there. Let's see. I'm just gonna. Yes, if you are subscribed to the channel here, definitely check your whatever email you use, because there's a YouTube link sitting in there for you. It's just waiting. It's not a super long video. It's like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. Not one of the longer videos for sure, but I thought it could be a fun little surprise. Now, I have no idea if people really look at their emails very much that they attach to their Twitch. I have to look at them all the time just because there's some important information for me in there. So maybe other folks don't quite do that as often as I do. Now what we did on this side here, let's start to play with some of that. on his shoes, again on his sort of saddle that's not a saddle, and I'm just going to say that is skin tone. So let's do that as skin tone then on his legs here. Yeah, we'll just do that. Now let's start to get some reds in his skin tone. Now the other day we were using the quinacridone purple or quinacridone crimson. We're just going to take some of that cadmium red and we'll let that mix with our green here. So all of a sudden that starts to, people were thinking I was joking about red green, but this is sort of red green. We're taking quite literally red and we're brushing this over green with the idea that it sort of automatically tones that down, keeps it from being pink. Red and green make brown, but it's a different sort of brown that's on the horse. We want a little separation between those skin tones there. We can also, look at this, I'm going to start mixing the green and the white together here. See, again, we're just being very direct with this. Sometimes we just do a stroke and we leave it. You got to leave it there. Oh, Lady B, not a super long. Well, the average video that I do, Lady B, is at least 2 hours and 15 minutes long. Some of the, well, the remastered, whatchamacallit, Twitch sessions, those are more like 3+ hours long. I think the longest video that I threw up on YouTube so far is 3.5 hours long or so. But you're talking about a full tutorial. I mean, literally from start to finish, from blank miniature to done. There's no speed ramping, there's no voiceovers, there's none of that stuff because I won't watch a video that is speed ramped and I don't even like voiceover videos. So yes, none of those have any of those ways of taking something that should be 3 hours and squeezing it into 15 minutes. I would much rather take that video and kind of watch it like a TV show over the course of a week than try and make sense of something that's flying by me at 2,000 miles an hour. Well, that, and it's the only way that I can produce the amount of videos that I have to produce, which is basically a tutorial almost every other day for the Patreon page. So look at this. We got those colors there. Look at it. We can just take this little brush. We can start blending those around. All of a sudden, he's starting to have some skin tone on him. Let's get to our brown matter again and get some of the lighter. I just love how that's got a little bit of almost a pinkishness to it, which is really nifty. I did throw a little bit of the raw sienna in there to sort of back it off of the pink and give it a little bit more of a brownishness. Gotta remember the ears here. Let me see what's in our chat here. Moses Magic, that was the main thing I wanted to ask you tonight, was how you did the oil paint. Well, now, let's see. It was very simple. We took, to make that brown matter, we took brown matter. We took this, and I mixed them in an old blister pack until they were thin enough to squeeze in this jar. It's kind of that simple. Is he continuing this gift sub when current subs will suffice? Yep. Well, I appreciate all the subs, of course. It means a lot, especially with what's going on with YouTube, because basically YouTube, for whatever reason, wants to like demonetize everybody. So yeah, I've had I don't know how many videos. Unless it's like a cat riding a vacuum cleaner, YouTube doesn't want it on the platform, so at least if it's going to be monetized. So yeah, without the Patreon and stuff like that, there's really no way to be able to get the video content out there to the masses This is back to here. Let's gonna take some of that Payne's Gray, some of the Ivory Black here, and let's really give this some nice juicy dark. But it's not a flat black because we have just enough of that Payne's Gray in there to give it a bluish tint. It's the other thing that sort of freaks people out about the oils is that, well, it's wet paint, so it's going to be shiny. But somewhere, well, where are they? These are some of the very first figures that I ever painted on the Twitch channel here. These are also painted with the oils, and as you can see, not shiny. That's what the bright light's sticking on right onto them there. Oh, what does Moses say? One away from 69. Yes. Well, I'm not quite sure what sort of celebration happens when we do get to that 69th one. I don't know, maybe Spellbrush does something fun. Maybe he does some kind of a dance of some type across the screen. That could happen. One never knows. Oh, let's see. Well, I just really love how I can watch someone else. I never get a chance to watch anybody paint. I mean, I'm serious. In 20 years, I never have seen anybody else paint, not live or anything like that, because I'm always the one doing the classes. But on a given day here, I can have 5 or 6 people and just be hearing them or watching them paint while I'm doing my stuff, which is really, that's cool. I had no idea. I had no clue. If I had known this was here sooner, I sure as heck would have been here a lot sooner, because this is freaking sweet. I really love this. So I just appreciate everybody letting me kind of join their space. Oh, let's see. Yep, I guess we'll have to find out what happens when the magic 69 is reached. I did wish that when I tried messing around with the chat rewards, like the chat point rewards, I got really disappointed that I was doing the same kind of...
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Welcome in, Inky John. Gandalf certainly approves of you joining us in our little area of Middle Earth here. We're working on a bunch of different oils. Now, you can already see it. See how that's even less glossy than it was just a few minutes ago? Paint is going to stick to that easier than if I had tried to keep forcing the paint on there. So this is why you have multiple figures, so you can just kind of travel and bounce around from one to the next. Now I'm going to get me some more of this cerulean blue over here. Work that into getting some more of these shadow areas of the horse here. Just cause it makes those shadow areas a little bit more interesting, that's for sure. That is definite. Here I'm going to take some of that Payne's Gray, some of the Ivory Black, and we'll make sure his mane. Get some of that. Let's do one of our little pin line washes on his beard if we can get to it, which I think we can. Yes. Again, it's just touch it there. Don't paint it on. Just let it flow in there. Just let that flow in there. Same thing. We need some shadow areas around this stuff before I hit it with the lighter colors. What's really funky is I put that panel line wash there. It's almost dry. It's literally, you got like dry oils over wet oils. And it happens because we took away so much of the oils was taken out of there. Now we're going to try and get some more skin tone on his legs before we move back to our Lannister. I think that's one of those guardsmen. It's a guardsman banner. That's what that is. Yeah, I'll just make this leg have a little bit more shape to it. Again, we've got, see that rough brush stroke right there? Look at that one. This is the nifty thing about oils, is I forgot all about it, and yet, oh, look it. Because I forgot about it, I could blend that nice and easy like. Let's do some more right here on his neck. And this is just like we did before, where we're just kind of dropping in the paint. Let's see. Ask me if there are any games I get to play regularly. My two favorite games are most definitely Lord of the Rings and Bolt Action, as evidenced by the 17 Bolt Action armies that I am working on, as well as well, it's going to be just about the same amount of Lord of the Rings armies. I've got Easterlings, I've got Harad, Far Harad, Dol Amroth. So this is my newest Lord of the Rings army that I am working on right here. And I painted some of these on previous streams. So this is my new army that I'm working on for Dol Amroth there. I got Army of the Dead. Here, let's swing around. We'll look at some of the... Where are we at here? Oh, so there's some of our Harad. That was another army painting series that I did. And I love me some cavalry. Actually, I have the Mahoods, the camel guys, so they're going to be in that same color. So here's a little peek at some of my Rohan here. And one more Rohan over there. So yeah, I love me some Lord of the Rings. Actually, did you see the fountain, the terrain tutorial? Oh, Lady B asked where I got the Flora oil paints. It's Marion Street. And they were, that big old container, that was only 15 bucks. So that's actually pretty darn cheap when it comes to oil paints. And they seem to be of a decent quality. I have not actually had a chance to paint with them yet. I was hoping to do those tonight. Now, actually, if you look on my YouTube channel, yeah, only 17. Check out just James Wappel on YouTube. I've got 4 battle reports for Bolt Action. It's France 1940. So check that out. I got plenty of battle reports there. Actually, on the YouTube channel, I also have a bunch of painting tutorials, especially vehicles and such. I will be painting more vehicles here on the Twitch channel as well. I just got to get those prepped. I've got some Trenchworks vehicles that I'm getting assembled. So yeah, I can put this down, all right? And then we're going to grab Mr. Blending Brush here. Mr. Blend, so you can see we've got those rough brush strokes right there. Hey, Kalini, how are you doing? Look at this, we're just going to take that, we're just going to blend that away. Let's do that over on this side. And the longer I let this sit here, so if I was to let that sit there for 15 minutes even, I would get even a smoother blend. It's so the opposite of the acrylic paints where it's a million miles a minute. And you just, if you want to do any kind of wet into wet, you are just flailing around like a maniac. Here, not so much. You just got to kick back. You just sort of, it's kind of the naked in a beanbag chair eating Cheetos of miniature painting. That's kind of how I think of it. So again, we got another sort of a rougher spot there. But you can see it keeps picking up that paint. I have to keep wiping that out of the brush. But if you start sticking it into the white spirits over here, it's going to be all wet, and you're just going to literally wash the paint right off the figure. So you don't want to do that. Probably something you don't want to do. Oh, let's see. Yes, I love them. I'm going to try an Army of the Dead with those guys. Let's see. Oh, Jason Craze is really liking Bolt Action. Yeah, I think I've seen him paint 1 or 2 Bolt Action things. I know he did, I think, a Fallschirmjäger army, maybe. If you look at my Instagram account, it's right there. Instagram, whatever. You will see my Monte Cassino Fallschirmjägers, because that was for the last tournament that I got to do. That was Operation Sting. It was last year. I actually, out of 36 players or something, I was in the top 8 or something like that. That was pretty wild. And I was able to come in first place in another tournament with my early war French. Actually, I have 5 French armies. I have 5 German armies. I've got an Italian Bersaglieri army, Marines, British 8th Africa Corps, all of it. I really enjoy the historicals. It's actually why I got started in oils, because I saw someone painting a T-35, the big, gigantic 5-turreted tank with regular Winsor Newton oils. And I went, that's not like MIG ammo stuff. That's just regular freaking oil paint. I said, I have regular oil paint. I wish to paint with oils too. So I did. And man, did I ever enjoy that. Let's see. Oh, is Nelinda in the house here too? Oh, hello. Sorry I missed you earlier there. Well, actually, I guess I didn't miss you by too much. That was only a couple minutes ago. Let's see. I had to end with it. It's a 32-hour stream. Well, I did do the 8.5-hour stream where we actually painted with the weathering powders, right? Where is that thing? Ah, yes. So we painted this. Some of you were here when I did this and painted it with weathering powders and rubbing alcohol. That's what I'm going to be doing on a T-34. But actually, I'm hoping to do here in just not too long is to paint up a couple of Army of the Dead here, trying out the fluorescent green. You never know unless you try it, right? So we'll do that. Oh yeah, we painted this also. Remember we did the snow effects here on Jamie? So this is another one that we painted during the epic almost 9-hour stream. Moses Magic only uses for weathering. That's why some of the videos I title them like oils. It's not just for weathering, because boy, they can just do so much. Now here, remember I talk about thick over thin and vice versa. Well, now we're starting to get thinner here, and look at how that just sticks right there. No problem. If this was any thicker than this, that's not sticking there. It'll just basically wipe right off. Oh, he only just gotten, let's see, has been known to do a bloody long stream in her time. You know what? I'm going to see if I can't make myself a brighter green out of this. Why not? Again, scrubbing that into the palette to try and get rid of some of the excess. Aha, there we go. That's more like it. So now we've got ourselves a little bit of separation there. How's about some more of that over here for more separation? Again, one brush stroke, leave it, take away the paint, and then we just go after that edge, and we blend it, take away the paint, and we just spread this out across our miniature. We're going to take some of this, that's the cadmium yellow deep, mixed with a little bit of the white, and our raw sienna. I'm just going to throw some of it there, and we take some of it away. Let's do some blending on this. Like so. I know how long I've spent on stuff like that with the acrylics, and if I could have just spent a few seconds doing that instead of, oh, I don't know, several minutes, just think of how many of those 17 bolt action armies I could get finished in just a day, being able to blend like that. The relaxation of just knowing that, yeah, you know, that Lannister dude that's sitting over there, I can get back to him whenever I want. Now, 2 days from now, he's going to be dry, for sure. Heck, parts of him will be dry by tomorrow night. And that's because we've thinned down the paint so much. Moses Mac asks, when all is said and done, do you brush on anti-shine? I certainly do. I certainly do. So those two guys that I showed you, they're next stages to get hit with this and just brush this stuff on, because it doesn't matter. Here now it's either freezing, scalding, soaking wet, too dry. I mean, there is no weather here that's good for spraying anything. I mean, you can barely spray indoors safely here with the way the weather has gone. So why not just be able to brush that on? Look at how we're starting to pick out the muscles on the horse here. Look at this one. How we picked that one out. Doing the same thing right here. Okay, just nice, soft blending. This is why I always say there's no layers to this. This is not a cake. It's not the British baking show.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Hey, Candon, how's it going? I'm just gonna look here and get there we go. Or no, Kadord. Sorry. Well, if I start working with some reds and golds soon enough, especially some reds, then we'll have a little bit of a Kador type of a vibe going on. That'll be our Lannister once we can get back to him, but we're just adding a few now. Some lighter colors here. For the moment, right now, thick is working because we have thin. I'll remember we did those washes earlier. That's what's kind of giving us that thin paint. Same here on his shoe there. So we can go back to our Lannister guy here, and we can start to. I'm just going to take some of this. Yeah, look at this. If I had tried doing that, I don't know, just slap some of this stuff on it. This could not have happened 20 minutes ago. It quite literally would not have accepted any paint right here. There's no way any of that paint sticks there. But now you can see why I wanted the red there, because, well, it's kind of starts to blend itself a little bit. There we can start to hit his tail. If the color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. So if we're going to have that red banner and we're going to have some kind of gold like this, we really do want to have some impression of that red into our golds. And again, we're just, look at this. Look at that. It starts mixing in with my yellows. If I was doing glazes on that, it would just take so much time. And there's watermarks and all the other things you got to worry about. And here it's oils. There's no watermarks because there's no water. It's very handy. This looks like a dry brush, but it's not. It's just a very relaxed brush stroke. It's just, we're kind of scumbling that paint across the surface. We're letting things mix together. Now let's say we want to start to fool around with some of the sky earth on the helmet. Well, we need a sky color for one thing. So let's start to do that. And there's nothing like sky color. Nothing says sky like cerulean blue does. Oh, it's Matagames TV. How you doing? Oh, thanks, Berserker Works. I appreciate it. And look at that. See, it already starts to give you that sort of sky color appearance there. Everything that faces the sky, going to get that color. Oh, it's Mickey Vengeance. Let's see, without any kind of varnish, with the oils rub off. They bond to plastic, they bond to metal, they bond to everything, because what they're bonding to is the primer. And this is the same Badger Steiner Riz that I use on absolutely everything. And, these guys, there's no anti-shine on them. I'm tapping away at them pretty hard. This was just, I was still painting on this less than 36 hours ago. And paint's doing just fine. So it's about the primer. It sticks to the primer, and that's all that matters. If you use a decent primer, and that's the Badger Steiner Riz can stand up to basically anything, that is what's going to give you that nice permanent hold with your oils. I'm going to look around. Let's see. Oh, I'll see you later, Berserker Works. Thanks for joining. Even on the powdered pigments. No, remember what we were doing? I don't know if you got the chance to see that. We were using pigment fixer as the liquid in some areas. So it quite literally was, not only was it helping the pigments move around, it was also basically fixing them to the surface, which was, that's the neat thing about it. The problem is you can't push them around afterwards. All right, so we're getting some of our sky blue in here, and I might even throw a little bit ultramarine out there as well. And I will show you once again our halberds here. So that is the sort of, again, the sky earth that we are looking for. So we're basically kind of reflecting the tree line. We're reflecting his buddies. We're reflecting all kinds of stuff into his helmet. That's why we're going to use some of this green here. Touch of our umber and some greens. Let's start to give him a bit of a horizon line here, but the horizon line also has to be interrupted. That's something that I learned looking at the photos of cosplayers, the Instagram pics from cosplayers. They just take some really fantastic shots of themselves in real armor, doing real things in real woods, and lo and behold, you see all this stuff reflected in their armor. All of this stuff is reflected in it. But now here, with the earth portion of this, all I have to do is take what I just added there, and all I have to do is just spread it out like this. It's so much easier, my goodness, doing that than it was on old. And that was one of my 5-part army painting series there. Now let's get a little bit of let's get a little gold trim too on these guys here. Let's not forget that. And I'm just gonna give the impression of that real quick. Just throw some of this same yellow there. It's not gonna be the final color there by any means. I just wanna, if I don't have the context of that yellow there, I don't quite know how light or dark to go with the other metal colors that I'm throwing in there. There. Now I've got also on the YouTube channel, I have a bunch of videos on non-metallic metal there too. Let's see if I've got one of my, here you go. So this is another one of my army painting series. So again, you got see the reflections even on his helmet. You can see those wings reflecting on his helmet there and on his sword. Is there a genuine vision in the house? Hey there. Let's see. Metagames ask about the Optilung 502 as well. So I gave these a try one time. I mean, the thing looks beautiful, right? Fancy super container. I went to use them and I said, there's something not quite right here. Well, as I discovered, much to my horror, unless you got this, those things are, as far as I'm concerned, they're useless without this. And I haven't actually had a chance to try this yet. But if this doesn't do what they tell me it's going to do, those paints, well, they will never see the camera again, because I was displeased with what happened with those when I first tried them. That was not what I was expecting. And then it was not long after that I made my own oils. Well, the mixes that I made here. And I said, okay, these things dried in less time. They're way less, well, they're not really shiny at all. The Optilung stuff was nasty and shiny. I went, okay, fancy container, not much else. So yeah, that was not a really cool thing right there. Let's see, Genuine Vision asks, what was the problem with them? They took forever to dry, and they were shiny and nasty even after they were dry. I mean, you think this thing here is not even as shiny as it was an hour ago. Those Optilungs were shinier than this when they dried. They were awful, and people say, oh yeah, that's because you didn't use the matte effect thinner. And as soon as you tell me there's a product that only works when you use it with this, I'm like, then that product don't work for me, because I need products that are more utilitarian. I need something that can work on multiple things. just like the Reaper clear and liners, just like the transparents from Pro Acryl. Those can do a host of different things. That's why they get, there's a reason why you see those out on my palette all the time. If you don't see something, there, well, color shift paints, you're not going to see those a whole bunch. You don't even see metallic paints a lot, because I love using the metal medium, because I can actually shade my metallic paints without trying to do any kind of washes or anything like that over them, which, well, immediately kills all of the metal effect anyways. So here we're going to take some of the, look at that. I mean, this is practically almost dry here on the palette, and I just put that there about 20 minutes ago. Yeah, the Winton starter set, well, geez. I think the entire Winton starter set is worth, like, I don't know, 2.5 of these. So that's the other thing too, is expense. You know, here is again, I'll show you a little example here. So one of these is painted in oils. One of these is painted in acrylics. They were both painted on my YouTube channel. You can see the weathering on the blades looks pretty darn similar. We got the same kind of blends going on, the same type of colors going on. This one was actually painted in oils. This one painted in acrylics. I can't even, there's times where I can't tell what was painted in oils and what was not. So, like some of these guys here, these were all painted in oils. Even the, you see the tattoos on there? See the little swirly tattoos? That was wet oils, painted over wet oils. These have not been varnished in any way. And do you see any shininess except for the blood effects? You see no shiny on there. Yeah, it's Valander and Red in the house. How you doing? I'm going to take this opportunity to get something to drink real quick here. Ah, thank you. Sorry about that. I needed that to keep the voice going. So again, once you reach a certain point here, you say, you know what, we're going to put him aside again. And we're going to go back to Mr. Horsey over here. I'm going to start getting some of this bluish, this crazy bluish green. This was the ivory black mixed with the cerulean blue, which is a really nifty little color right here. Paul John's Life, how you doing? How are you doing? I'm just having fun with some of my new oils here. Really enjoying this. I'm going to thin that down. So again, thicker over thin. We've emphasized the thick an awful lot. We're not going to emphasize the thinner paints like you do. If we're going to go lighter, we're going to go thinner. So again, we're taking some of those white spirits, we put it in our lighter color here and over the top, and look at that, it sticks. If that had been the same thickness of paint as what was underneath it, ain't going to stick. It's just going to literally bounce right off of there. Or pull the layer underneath off, which is also less than ideal. Not what you're looking for. So this is another thing with the oils. You got to be direct. And by direct, I mean one brush stroke and leave it. One brush stroke to bind them. One brush stroke to rule them all. We do another zoink. Couple more, and we just blend that. Just have to let the brushes do the talking here. And let the paint do the work. Ask not what you can do for your oils, but what your oils can do for you. How's about some lighter skin tones, but also maybe something's got a little more gray in it. Let's get some of these muscles up here. And as I said, this stuff just a half an hour ago actually looked shinier than this. And those areas where I actually did some of those basically panel line washes on the skin tones, well, those are basically dry, which is really cool. I get these little teeth or bones or whatever these things, that kind of necklace thing going on here. Let's just hit that real quick. Let's just do that right now. just to indicate that it's there. Let's get some eyes on them. Oh, there's the other advantage of the oils. Let's see if we got one of these going here. Gonna take some of our thinner here. This is just the hilarious thing. These are some brushes that I was gonna throw away. There's some old Winsor Newton. So 000 there. It's got basically like 3 hairs left. It's pretty much destroyed. And now it works just fine. Look at that. Nice and tiny. I don't know, let's say if we want to do something like, I don't know, paint some eyes on him. I'll thin this down. We'll do the other side. Is he on screen? Yes, he is. So there's an eye over there. We can start to hit some of these other parts too. Remember, that was all just wet oils there not long ago. Just completely soaking wet oils. There's actually like a puddle. Oh, that's it. Burgers with mashed potato and butter and boiled carrots. Man, that's making me hungry. Because, well, I'm technically about, I don't know, 4 hours from now. Most people around here be eating breakfast. Maybe even as little as 3 hours. Since it's 3:39 in the morning here. Yeah. Again, thinning these things down now because we're at sort of that stage where we were working thicker. Now we've got to go in the opposite direction. Going in opposite land. Now I need to figure out what we're going to do here on his shoes. Do we make those more tan? Do we make them more red? Do we make them lighter, darker, whatever? Not quite sure yet. But because the paint's starting to, it's not really drying, but because it's like that loaf of bread that's being proved in the proving drawer, it's letting me get some nice little brush strokes in there. Now, if we wanted to on the horse, we could give him fur texture if we really wanted to. I haven't been doing that with these guys just because there's so many nifty musculature things sculpted on him. Here, let's give Mr. Horsey some eyes here. And this is all wet oils right here. All of this stuff is very wet. If I were to hit that with my thumb or take the sponge to it, I could just wipe all of that away. But you just got to be direct. There you go. There's an eye on our horse. I'm just going to make sure that I've got myself some decent focus over here. That's better. And if I thin this down, not quite as much as that pin line wash that I did before, but now I can do some more little detail type things here. And again, it's a little bit like the some of the flesh tones that we're starting to put on this guy here. See all the greens and the reds and the pinks. No, well, oh geez, I meant to actually get some burrito fix-ins earlier today. I forgot to do that. Oh well. At least there will be spaghetti for supper today. And I'm already looking forward to that. Well, it's when it gets to be this late at night, you pretty much get hungry anyways. Because your body is saying, well, if you were a normal human, you would be eating breakfast pretty darn soon. As that goes for normal humans. That, I guess, pretty much has never really been me. So again, for folks, it's a way you can't really do the detail stuff with oils. You can only do the weathering and that sort of. I just assumed that they were right, and well, the first 3 letters of assume, well, you can guess what those are. And that's how I felt when I realized, so I've been missing out all this time because people told me that you couldn't do detailed stuff with oils. And yes, you can. Here, let's give him some eyebrows and eyelids here. Again, all wet oils over wet oils. Is that on screen? I think so. Yeah, we've got those eyes framed now. And let's see if we can get in there. I'm just going to throw out some more white. So again, when you mix these, when you're mixing your oil brush, my homemade oil brushers, you can hear this sound. You hear that sound? Well, that is basically a piece of, it's a metal sprue. See all those chunks of metal right there? Each of my bottles has some kind of hunk of metal in there, and that is the sound that you hear banging around inside this bottle. And that's what keeps these, because people will say, well, how does it not separate this, that, and the other? Well, an agitator. Heck, most acrylic paints these days also come with an agitator. You could hear that little agitator bouncing around in my container of white. Now, we need to work on his eye right over here. There we go. I want to see what happens with that. Yes, yes. Go in here to this green. So that's actually another one of the new, well, it's an old paint. It's one that I've had for almost 4 years, but I haven't really used it very much. And we're starting to use it now, and I'm kind of enjoying that green. It's a green that I used to use in acrylics, so why not also use it with oils? Now let's get some of our reds in the skin tone over here too. We're kind of remiss on that over here. So remember the first skin tone that we put in, that was just basically green. Let's see, genuine for everything but Gator or Orlock. Okay. Oh, thanks, Oblade. Appreciate it. I appreciate that. And remember, the palette here is nothing but just a piece of cardboard and a piece of parchment paper. That is all it is. Nothing else. I can see we want to hit his hand, get some of these fingers with some lighter colors on them. When I found out that the oils here were basically going to resurrect 3 ancient Winsor Newton series, Winsor Newton Series 7 brushes, literally from the dead, going from basically the garbage can to used all the time. There is just something about these. It's positively magical. Let's see if we can give his sword hilt a little bit of life here with some of our yellow. That's a little better. Let's give our scabbard here a little introduction of some more lights, and then we're going to push that around here with our blending brush, boom, like so. We always have a blending brush handy of some type. Always keep that blending brush around, just like here. So we've got essentially a line right here. Well, we don't want a line there. What we want is a fade. And we just made a fade. Now we're going to take some of that cerulean blue here, and quite literally just going to dust some of this into the horse's hair. It's not a dry brush because look at all the basically dark brown paint that I picked up there. It's because it is mixing along the way. We're not just applying the paint, we're mixing it at the same time. Now his hooves, we need to get some kind of sandy color there on his hooves. Let's do that before we forget, because I will. That just basically raw sienna. Nothing complicated about it whatsoever. think long, think wrong. That's almost always the case. Earlier today, we were listening to some folks, and they were taking the simplest of things, and they were turning it into nuclear physics. We said, holy smokes. We wouldn't be able to breathe and digest food at the same time if we were following that complex of a formula. What is going on with that? So here's again another one of those new ones. It's the ivory black, and I've been calling it basically an additive. I'm going to throw some of that out here again. It's a brand new thing that I mixed, but the color itself is not terribly new. So here it is. It's part of my old, look at this thing. And this will tell you just how long oils are going to last you, because this is the set that I got almost 4 years ago. And you can see I barely put a dent in a lot of these things. And this, look at how brutal that is. But now it's in a nice little paint container, and boy, I'm just loving that. Absolutely loving that in the paint container. Now we've got to mix it with a little bit of that brown matter too. There we go, nice deep brown that we can use here on his legs. So we've got to, what if we wanted to give him like the white socks or something like that? We could do the same thing, really easy. And we could just blend it. We wouldn't have to struggle with glazing this and layer that. There's no layers, none of that kind of stuff. You just paint with the oils. You are just painting. Thank goodness for a change. Doesn't require all these special things. And the brushes, for the most part, that I've been using here, it's $5. There's a dozen of them. So it's affordable. They're more affordable than regular paint, miniature paint, I'll tell you that right now, because that set that I showed you just not long ago, I don't really need to be buying any more of those. And I paint a bunch of figures. I mean, by bunch, I mean hundreds of figures. So we've got some paint position out here, which we are now going to do some blending on. I might even use one of my larger blending brushes here. So one second, let me get my paper towel into this, clean off a brush. Get a nice wide filbert brush, which is perfect for just blending all this stuff out. Now I got to remember, I got to keep cleaning that off. Just a couple of strokes, clean it off. Blend a little bit, clean it off again. We've got right here some of the lighter greens that I added, which I can now just blend. I've been letting this, see, we got a couple of edges right there. Just been letting that sit there because I wanted to go back in, fade that a little bit more. It's almost like you're buffing wax onto a tabletop finish or something like that. It's almost a little bit like that. Now what we're also going to do here, take some of this, some of our green. Let's get some of that into some of our shadows here. It's going to enhance those shadows a bit. And then we can take our blending brush here and we just pull that up out of the shadows. Take some of it away, pull it up out of the shadows. Right here around this muscle on his shoulder, boom, right there. I'm going to get some of that. I'm going to take a little bit of the ivory black, mix it with that green, make it darker. That's why I've been calling the ivory black just an additive. It's never going to be just by itself. It's always going to be mixed with something else to make sure it's a color. Because just ivory black by itself just has nothing. It's devoid of color. Again, another nice smooth transition. See, there's another just dot of, see that right there? That dot of lighter color, which now is blend smoothly. His face right here, it's so much easier to get some nice smooth blends into that. Let's give him a little bit more of a resolution on his nose and mouth here. So I'll turn this so that the lights maybe aren't reflecting quite so much on there. What I'm going to do is, there, I'm going to turn down the lights a bit. So I think now maybe you won't get quite as much of a glare. Boy, that's really dark for me, but I think you guys won't get quite so much of a glare. Now I'm going to get some couple of almost lighter sort of pinkish tones here and a few of the flesh tones. We need to resolve the face a little bit more here, so we're going to lighten that up a touch. We still have to finish off his eyes. We gave him sort of a start to his eyes. We got to finish those off now. Again, going thinner because that's what's going to stick to this. We've got lots of layers of paint there now, which means we've got to go thinner if we want these to stick. Oh, it's Groot. Or Grooted, not oh, garroted. That's what I said. That's what I said the other day. That was, yeah, that was my bad. Sorry about that. I guess we had just seen too many Midsummer Murders and Cadfael now. That's the latest substitute there. So I'm gonna give him a little bit of a cheekbone there. Let's give him a little bit of an ear. I'm gonna use our wonderful cerulean blue, a little bit of maybe get some lights on his hair now too, like so. Just enjoying the ability to blend for extended periods of time. So there's some of the ivory black mixed with the Payne's gray. We'll get some more nice rich blue black darks in his mane. Yes. Oh my goodness, yeah, that is when okay, no, it's not garroted. I just was like, well, that would be an interesting screen name. I don't know what it would what kind of connotations would go with that. What does your screen name say about you? And it's garroted on. I'm kind of stuck with the name, with the Wappelius thing, because that is what we chose for our eBay name years ago, and by years ago I mean like 2002. So yeah, we've been stuck with that thing for quite a while. So this is, again, that green that's starting to go into some of my shadows here. Now it's obviously a much darker green than the shadows we threw on this horsey over here. So this was our last one that we did. And I think even here we threw some blues. Yeah, there was some blues into some of the shadow areas of this guy here. I can see we need to also hit this with some of, again, these darker greens. And I'm not going to try to blend those right away. I'm going to actually sort of let those there again and just see if I leave them, it'll be easier to actually get some smoother blends in there. Now I want to hit some more blends and highlights on his shoulders here. So I'm just going to take these lighter colors. You can see I'm just going to drag these, quite literally dragging these lighter colors up the side of his shoulder there, which is hilarious. I am going to do some more gray in the skin tone here. There we go, a little separation from the hair and his head. That is the cerulean blue mixed with the ivory black. Gives me that really nifty bluish gray, which we're going to now put into some more of these skin tones, almost as reflected light. Definitely get some here. Gotta be as direct with it as I can. You don't want to be doing Morse code on the miniatures. Again, I'm going to thin it down to make sure it sticks. It's amazing what happens with the thinner paint. It's Raven Cat. How you doing? Thanks for joining. I'm just having some fun with some of the new mixed oils that I just made, like my fluorescent paints. And we got the ivory. Look at how that makes the camera go bonkers. That is hilarious. Oh, let's see. Metagames. Is there any advantage to do a sketch of acrylic paint as your base coat, like I see in some painted? That. Oh gosh, what did I end up? I ended up calling this is sort of like it. I just call it the shaded base coat. So go check out my YouTube channel. It's just James Wappel on YouTube, and you can even just we're being. It's Major Dodo. Thank you for the raid. But yeah, just check out the James Wappel YouTube, and you can even just type in shaded base coat. Now, basically every video has shaded base coat in it. I mean, it's in everything. There is no one shaded base coat video because it's everywhere. But welcome, raiders. Oh, Ravencat's doing okay, getting home from work. Mad Cat, Battle Mech base coated. Gonna start in a cloudy sky, landscape reflection. That'll be very cool. Well, every single person matters, so thank you very much for the raid, Major Dodo. We are working with oil paints here. Now you're seeing this guy after he has been. We started out with him. He was basically this. He had nothing on him, just basic primer. And we've been doing lots of blending on the skin, certainly on the horse's fur. We're getting some more light colors on his skin. You can see some of the blends that we've been able to do here on the sword scabbards and such things. And these are my essentially pre-thinned oils that I'm working with. That's basically regular oil paint. Uh-oh. Thank you for the cheer, Sencho. So that means here I am. When that happens and something goes in the jar, he needs his muscle milk here. He's gonna drink that. That's what that stuff is. That is muscle milk for Wappelius Spellbrush. It is much appreciated. So all of these, again, you can. Oh, let's just do something fun here. We're just gonna take some of our brown matter here. We're gonna mix it with this crazy green color here. Oh, I just throw a couple of dots here. Just boom, a dot there. Brush stroke there. Another one there. I throw a couple of these. So you see those nasty brush strokes there? You say, what in the world is going on with that? I'm going to take another brush here. It's got some paint in it. We've gotten rid of most of it. So what we're going to do, and you can see that big old dot of paint right there. What we're going to do is take that dot and we're going to push that around and we're going to blend that. Do that over here too. Just going to blend that. Just like that one. We're going to get rid of the excess paint. This is the advantage of the oils right here. Oh, channel hopping, wishing everyone a good day, but thank you very much. Oh, and thanks, Major Dodo. Let's see. Oh, it's a raid and run. Thanks again for the raid. I will hopefully catch you tomorrow. And we're going to do some blending right over here, too. You see how we're basically combining all of that together. Now I'll show you a previous one. This was painted on a previous stream. Actually, it's now on my YouTube channel. So this was done in oils, exact same way, exact same colors. Let's see all that stuff on his back. See the magenta, the couple of different colors of green that are more green and are more bluish and more of a yellow green. All of those were just slapped on there at once, and then we pushed it around with the oil paint with that blending brush like you see me using right now on Mr. Horse. And here's some previous horses right here. You can see we've been able to do some really fun blends with him, and this is all dry now. But look at his skin tones. You can see some of the greens in there and some of the pinks. The oils just let you do so many fun things like that. Here, let's get some of this. A bit of cerulean blue here. And I'm just gonna throw some of that right here on his leg. Believe it or not, I'm just gonna take some of the cerulean blue. Gonna mix that in right there. Gonna mix that in here as let's go down his leg. Mix some of that in right in here. Maybe even some into his face. I am gonna thin it down a little bit to make sure that it sticks. And yes, these thinned down oil paints will definitely dry much sooner than your traditional oil right out of the tube. These are traditional oil paints out of the tube. They have just been, well, we've modified them. We've definitely done some modifications. And I'll basically show you again. This is how all this paint started. Just as regular oil paint in the tubes. But mixing it with the white spirits / mineral spirits, we have been able to thin it down to the consistency of miniature paint. Except, unlike most miniature paints, this paint that was applied, almost 2 hours ago, I can still blend this. That wouldn't work so well with traditional acrylic paints. It would be kind of dry and kind of unworkable because it's acrylics. There is no drying retarder in the universe that can make acrylics stay wet that long. And that's the beauty of the oils. We're working on multiple figures at once. Multiple figures at the same time, which means that I can let some of these figures just kind of, again, the paint just sort of sits there, kind of chills out a bit, and I get even smoother blends than I thought possible. So let's do some. I forgot the other eye on the horse here. Also forgot his mouth. Okay, that's on camera. Nice little right there. Let me give him a bit of an eyebrow. Again, it's detailed stuff. Yes, it's oils, but you can do those detailed type things with it. It's something I just did not think that was going to be possible. I thought I could do stuff like the horse, right? Like the big stuff. Oh, Bethany, hey, she's been lurking. I'll catch you next time, Bethany. And now, did you? Oh yeah, take a look at the new video. It's got the newest oil painting mixing in there. I just put that up a few hours ago. But thanks for watching. Yeah, let's get some darks in here too. So yeah, to everyone that's subscribed to the channel a few hours ago, they got an email with a link to one of my tutorial videos, normally destined for the Patreon page. But I thought, well, this could be fun to throw a bit of a thank you. Now, of course, some of the folks subscribed are also part of the Patreon page. So, well, they get the best of both worlds, I suppose. And I'm just James Wappel on Patreon, and when you sign up to that, especially the Army Painter Pledge level, I send you 400, actually more like 500 hours worth of links. And that is no joke. That is not a joke. I've been doing these tutorials for, 7 years? So you basically get a 7-year library of tutorials when you do that pledge level. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to extend that up this way. Look, I'm just going to kind of march this up right up the sword blade there. It makes things so much easier. It's unbelievable how much easier it makes that. So again, that's cerulean blue mixed with my black to get a nice bluish gray. So that's definitely going to be a favorite for me. I'm really loving that. I'm really enjoying that. Now I'm thinking, let's see, what else do I want to get? Possibly even some more, maybe darks into this, whatever this is, saddle slash leather thing. Not quite sure what it is, but I'm also going to get some, throw some burnt sienna into here. Like right there. And then we're going to clean off our brush and we're going to mix this. We're just going to blend these two things together. It's a little bit like what we did on that troll that I showed you just now. Okay, let's see. I'm looking to see, trying to get caught up on the chat like you do. I'm going to go even further here, I think, with some of my lighter bluish grays on his hair. I can't quite tell if these are braids or not. And again, these are the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures, so these are your Targaryens. I guess the Dothraki or whatever. I did not see the show and I did not read the books, so basically all I know about this is what I've been able to research. Basically watching those kind of military history style YouTube videos. And then of course what the folks who make the game tell me when they say, "Okay, Jim, we need you to paint it like this or like this." I've done myself a Lannister army. Actually, an entire Night's Watch army for that matter. Oh yeah, well here, I can show you some of the other stuff that was done. Why not? Speaking of Night's Watch, we've got, so this is very fun with the snow and mud effects. Really enjoyed that. Looking to do that on some bolt action pieces too. Oh, Inky John. It's a braid. It's not quite a raid. It's like a raid just with hair. Actually, oh, here's another thing in oils. So this is I did an entire unit of Mountainsmen here in oils. And actually, this is, I haven't done this at all yet. So this is a little trick that I like to do here. Zoink. So when I take away all the color, you see shading there. You see lights and darks, right? On all of that difference. I'm going to get myself my focus here, and we bring back the color. You see as it comes back. You start to
Hello,
see,
little hobbits. Spark my gun.
you start to see Ugly 88. Thank you so much for the follow. You can see like the turquoise there. You can see the pink in his sword blade. But when that goes away, it's all just, it's the value takes over. So there's color contrast. People are always talking about contrast. Color matters a lot. And this is what's fun with oils, because you can basically get more of these fun colors. Now I'm going to put, again, this is one of my new oils that I just kind of mixed. Pre-thinned, I guess is the word that I've been using. Here, let's get some of it right out there. I thought it was going to be a fun color for my horse here, and it really has been. It's nice. It's a nice, deep, rich color. Yeah, I'm going to definitely start to put some more of this here out in some of the shadows. And then we'll go back and we'll mix it in the usual way, like we've done before. Again, and some of these right here, we're being direct, right? With one brush stroke. And we just got to go after those edges and we blend it. We'll do the same thing on the other side of it here. Oh, let's see. Major Dodo, how the heck are, oh, it's yeah, it is. Let's see. So I did the Lannister. Oh, I did a whole Free Folk army. I've got a whole bunch of the. Oh, here's another one. Let me grab this giant here, especially this guy, and we'll do a similar thing. So you can see all of the. Right. See how the greens get warmer, more yellow. They get cooler. Yeah, it's the house, and we're actually going to be painting some of the like these giants here in oils too. So we're gonna go zoink. We killed the color on him too. You can still see there's all the shading is still there. All all the shading's still there, but when we bring back the color, now you get to see the pinks and the oranges and all the the nifty bright colors in him. I'm gonna give me some liquids here real quick. So sorry about that. After a while, the voice just needs a little something to keep it going. I'm gonna find some more lights here on his skin tone. And remember, this guy, he was just had no paint on him at all when this started. When this started, he had nothing on him. He was bare. Same for the horse, of course. That's now even the acrylics. I paint fast with those too. Yes, yeah, obviously. But the oils just let me crank that up even more, because there's no having to go back and where something dried, and or there's no watermarks or any of that kind of crazy stuff. All there is just nice, smooth blends where I just take the paint and start pushing it around. Not made you do all right, somewhat back, but with chicken. Oh, that sounds good. We actually, yeah, Kathy did the chicken and dumplings thing yesterday. Yes, that was very tasty. And I got her some more Bisquick yesterday, so there's no excuse. There's no running out. Now let's go back to that. That's the cerulean blue. That is the ivory black, and a very interesting kind of bluish gray, which makes a natural shadow color here for some of these darks. Why not? Let's get some of that on the underside of his face too. Yeah, let's get some more of this on his chin, around his mouth. There, and once that's there, okay, I'm going to take some of it away. Do ourselves a nice little blend there. Now the kind of the chest area there, we've got not too much going on. Let's put a little something there. I will actually get a little bit of the some of that raw cyan in there, make it a little bit more on the yellow side, almost like we're trying to reflect what's going on with the ground. So I'm just scrubbing that into my palette. Look at that. I have a nice big old brush, and we can do a little bit of blending here. This is the other thing about the oils, and that's why I can just kind of glue these guys to their bases. I didn't used to be able to do this because it was so freaking hard to get at those areas. Now it's not hard at all to get to areas like the underside of the horse here. It's just real easy to blend that because I don't have to do one layer after another layer. I just basically go, all right, here's a new color. I'll blend it into the color that's there. Boom, that's done. That's it. No more, no fuss, no muss. Again, clean out the brush a bit. And then we can do our kind of overall blending here. We position the colors, then we smooth them out with some type of a blend there. Again, going to get into my pink strip. We are thinning this down so that we can get that brush down in here and get the paint to stick, because what's in there is super thick. The only way that's going to stick is if that paint is thinner, like it just did there. Thick paint sticks to thinner paint, and vice versa. Otherwise, not so much. And with the oil paints too, I know I say it all the time, they are not like miniature paints in that if you use a green, a blue, a red, or whatever, they're basically the same texture. Now, one paint might not cover as well, like say a yellow, may not cover as well as a brown or whatever, but they're still basically the same consistency. That is not so with oils. Some paints with the oils are super translucent, some are not. They're almost the opposite. They're very opaque. With the oils, sometimes they're also tend to be a little more shiny, or they tend to be a little more dull. Cerulean blue is one of those colors that tends to be more dull. Ultramarine blue is kind of the opposite. It tends to be more on the shinier side of anything. So those are the kind of things you're going to find when you use oil paints. Ordered Korean fried chicken for lunch. Oh, it's Vanderjohn. How are you doing? Let's see. Major Dodo asked. I meant that. The other guy you got out to show the prime, and it looked like it had orange underneath. It's just sometimes the colors of primer that I happen to have closest to my hand. So this one, if you're wondering why he was a little bit orangey, it's because I had just this bottle was closer, and this is what is this, the red brown, the red brown versus the ebony primer. So if I had this one nearby, you would have seen that kind of in the underneath. This is sort of what the ebony looks like here. So it's that nice deep brown. And I definitely want to try out some of my fluorescent green on that. I will be doing my next, well, at least the plan is anyway. And plans always are subject to change. But the next live stream I was going to probably do would be Saturday during the day, so it'd be a little more North America friendly. It would also be, well, evening for those in Europe. So that's at least the plan anyways. That is what I'm hoping to do on Saturday. And I've got a whole bunch of other things that I want to paint with the oils, including this big old creature caster right here, the Death Elemental. This was a tutorial I was just doing, was sculpting. Basically, I take that base and sort of work it out to the edge of the plinth there. So he'll be primed, and he is definitely a candidate for my fluorescent paints. And we'll be doing him a little bit like what I've done on the glaive rates here. So we'll have some fun with him over the weekend, I believe. Like I said, that's the plan anyways. If certain circumstances allow, that will be fantastic. Now I'm also going to, I'm going to get some of this, let's get maybe some yellow into his skin tones. I know that sounds a little crazy, but we're going to do that. Let's see, Korean for that really does sound good. Well, Korean barbecue, that's the thing we like so much, and that's the thing that we've kind of been denied now. We were supposed to do that at Adepticon and then at Gen Con, but neither of those events are going to happen. And there are definitely no Korean barbecue restaurants near us at all, sadly. If there was, we'd be there like every day, because that stuff is mighty darn tasty. I will go a little bit lighter here on the strap here on the horse, thinning this down a lot to get it to stick, because we've got several layers of the thicker paint underneath it. There we go. We'll just extend that right down as you do. I want to get this a little bit lighter here with the muzzle on our horse here, on his mouth. Sort of kind of like that grayishness right there, and I want to also get his nostril a little bit highlighted there. I mean, all of this detail sculpted in the horse, why not take advantage of it? Lady B is back. And we're starting to get more into the detailed stuff. Just like I said, if you didn't see the beginning of it, you got 2 weeks before this goes away, and even when it does, it'll still be up on my YouTube channel. So it's just James Wappel at YouTube. And I've done, I think, so far, I think I've taken 4 of the live sessions, added pictures to them, some text, made it a little bit more like I guess, a formal tutorial, if you want to call it that. And those are available on the YouTube channel to watch at your heart's content. I'm also going to start to get some highlights now onto the main. We haven't done this at all. And I'm trying to keep them with this bluish gray here because I was hoping to have sort of a black look to the main. If I just do a lighter brown or something like that, it will take away some of that effect, like it's this coal black mane somehow. And these lights, they're not very light. This is barely a dark middle tone right now. But because we were able to establish the real darks down in those crevices, well, this just looks that much lighter. Let's get his tail now. Like you do. Mage Dodo, not sure if we have a Korean barbecue place. Oh, okay, yeah. Soul chicken and beer. Well, actually, ooh. Now see, tonight, I was kind of in a rush and I did not have time to pour out some Riesling for myself. That's what I'm going to have on Saturday. I haven't had Riesling in forever, since the last time we played Rails, which is probably around Christmas time. So that is going to be fun on Saturday. That will be my reward. I'm going to blend this now, just like I've done on his haunches and everywhere else. I'm looking forward to comparing what he looks like as far as the darkness or lightness of the color to this one. So again, this one painted maybe 38 hours ago, maybe. And right here. Yep, Riesling, I think it's a German wine. I kind of like it because there's several different options. Me, I tend to like the sweeter wines. Kathy tends to like the wines that are a little more, what would you say, dry, I guess. And they sort of have one that's towards the sweeter end. They have one that's toward the dry end, and they got one that's kind of in the middle. So we tend to just grab the one that's in the middle. Here, let's thin this down into the Payne's gray. We'll give him an eye. Give him another eye. Now I've got to give him more of a face here. Let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to lighten up the nose here. I don't want to lighten up too much because we do want him to have some of that darker skin, right? Make him a little more swarthy. I'm going to get some more of the green in here, though. So, well, there's our green. We'll mix it into that cerulean color over here. And we'll get onto the side of his face. His cheekbones here. All the way up to the temple. Now we'll lighten that up a little. There we go. That's another one of those color contrasts, basically. Another one of those color contrasts, because you have some of the reds that are there in his face, and then if we throw some green, even if they're the same value, they're same light and dark, there will still be contrast there. Because, well, red and green are kind of opposites. And it doesn't have to be the classic Christmas red and green. Let's see. Well, I live in a big wine growing area, but I hate wine. I keep thinking of, let's see, was it Adelaide? That's the region in Australia. That's definitely the big wine region. Yeah, well, I guess up here in Minnesota, apparently there's a wine growing. I didn't think that Minnesota could have grapes of any kind, but apparently it does. Not quite sure how. It just does. Oh, let's see. Let's see. You're supposed to get a bottle, and then you both get what you love. That's well, generally Kathy gets rails, and she loves rails. We have played that. Well, there's Australia rails too. Actually, that's what we played over Christmas. We played Australia rails. My favorite actually is Mars rails, and I enjoy lunar rails because, well, the whole astronomy thing, all the cities that, well, especially if you're playing like India rails or China rails, and there are just city names that you don't even know what you're looking at. At least there on the Mars and lunar rails, I know exactly where all the cities are. I don't even need to look at the map. But Rails is definitely, it's a game that really works well for Kathy. She does enjoy that. But yeah, I'm going to try and get some of the blue. Let's see, look at that. You can see the green that is in his skin there. And then as I turn around here, then you can see some of that reddish orange sienna that we got here. Let's see, the area specialized in a box wine called Goon. Hi, it's Kendon. How are you doing? Oh, did you see the latest video that I sent you guys on ye old Patreon page? That was mixing these. So I just sent that maybe 5-ish hours ago, something like that. And I'm filming a sculpting video. Actually, I'm filming a couple of sculpting videos. So you'll be seeing those two. All right, you know what? I would like to... Yeah, let's get some of this cerulean blue here. We'll thin it down a touch. Get it to this kind of bluish gray consistency. A nice wide brush here. And then look at this nice little subtle blend right there. It's kind of there, but not there. Get kind of grinding that brush into the palette. See what that does? So that's not the lights. That is actual paint that is blended in there now. Quietly with the... Let's see, how does... paint... Well, oh, well, Kathy is asleep. Well, she is in obviously a different room, which is not that far away from me. I have no idea how she doesn't hear me doing this, but she never does. Actually, well, she hears me walking around in the kitchen more than she does me talking like this. I'm just hoping that we stop. Well, I've had to have a few kind of emergency Amazon deliveries here, and they keep arriving at not Wappel o'clock in the morning. I mean, this is Wappel o'clock in the morning. This is my time. Sadly, the other humans, they seem to think that other time is for them, which makes it way tougher for me to try and get sleep. Now I'm going to throw some of that to get some shading in there, because it's not enough to just have his legs be dark. There has to be something more to that than just a darker color, and that's why we put that blue in there. So we're going to get some of that gray in here too, but it's also mixing with that original brown matter. Almost turns a little bit of a purple color there. Maybe I'm going to cross some of that out onto his tail. Let me see. Oh, I can do some stuff now on that necklace. I just kind of had to wait. Again, I had to wait for the paint that was around there. It's not dry, but I just had to let it kind of settle in place a little bit first. So I'll take some of this away. And this is the easiest part to reach. There's another little bit of that strand right in here. I think I'm going to use some of this to maybe, I don't know, maybe we give his hair almost a little bit of a shine, even though it's supposed to be dark. Like you do. give him a little bit of an eyebrow here. More of a scowl, I guess. So the beard, that definitely needs some of this kind of cerulean bluish gray. I will lighten it up slightly though. I have no idea just how. Okay, I guess that is definitely part of his beard there. All right. And this is, we'll go back to that sort of panel line wash again. So we're going to take a whole bunch of our white spirits here. And really thin the heck out of this. It's basically about 95% white spirits. However, there's still plenty of paint left, and I'm just going to touch this to his face. I'm not going to do anything to it. Chocolate cake. Oh, wait a minute. Kathy wanted to make a cake. What the heck did she want to make? Oh, her D&D character is having a birthday, and I think one of the other characters is. They're both like going to be 12 or something. And they were going to make a... Oh, we were going to make it a cake. Oh, it was supposed to be a cake that's like a crow. And it was we were going to take fondant icing, and we were going to make eyeballs that you can eat. Nice sugary eyeballs. And we were going to take the food coloring and vodka. Like, what's the lady? Christine McConnell and her Curious Creation. That's it. Kind of like what she did. It's almost like weathering, except with food. Let's see. Just Valandar writes really angry at Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah, well, let's see. This is Kathy and her D&D group. That, well, they used to obviously play just the physical game. They've been doing the Discord thing. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to get a couple of lighter tones here. So this is my brown matter here. And wow, that just makes a nice, rich, lighter brown. That's going to make it, like I said earlier, that's going to make a really nifty skin tone on somebody not too distant future. Now we start to, that looks like a light there. That is, once again, it's just a dark middle tone by comparison, because we were so efficient at getting our darks in place. I am going to throw a little more of a light in there too. Perhaps even here on this side of his face. Yeah. They just did such a neat job in sculpting the horses. I want to make sure that I take advantage of that. Oh, excellent. Excellent. I've so many people, I think just in the last 48 hours, I've seen at least like a half a dozen of my fellow Twitch members here. They've either shown me their, like a Thunderdome. He said, "Hey Jim, look what I got." And he showed me his starter set. Drax was using his last night. I think Teals was using his. And of course, Lady B's going to be using hers. It was just so hilarious because for the last year and a half, every single company that I've talked to about making oils, they all said, nobody's going to buy oils. Nobody's going to paint miniatures with oils. They're only just going to weather vehicles with them. And I just wish there was a way to screen capture everybody on their stream saying, "Hey Jim, look what I'm using now." Which is, well, that's why I started making these, because I'll just have to make my own. If no one else will make them, I shall make them for me. What I am going to make for myself here is another nice little dark tone here. I know his boots have sort of a, there should be a little bit of a sole on the end of his boot there. I also need to get some of this burnt sienna here, so it's a little bit of a lighter brown. There's a couple of straps here that need some, yeah, and it's really going to stand out well against all the greens that are in there. Same goes for this. Let's see, I can't get past it without help, and nobody's awake. Okay. Neil Index, if I sell your own. I really haven't done that because, well, for a while, Amazon was either out of everything or they weren't delivering anything. And I wanted to make sure I could still have enough to make my own oil brushers. Well, yeah, my own homemade oil brushers. I can basically custom mix the paints for people. It's just shipping anywhere outside the US is not a really fun thing to do. Actually, probably shipping it from anywhere else to here is really no fun. Is no picnic either. Basically, shipping anything anywhere is not the most fun right now. But that's why I've got the video. I did a second video on mixing the oil brushers. So I got the one on the Patreon page, but actually for the folks who are subscribing to the channel, as a little surprise, about, like I said, 4 or 5 hours ago, they got an email from me with a link to that tutorial on how I mixed my latest batch of oil brushers. It was something that I was thinking about doing because, well, people that subscribe, you want to say thank you in some way. And I thought, well, what the heck? These tutorial videos would be perfect because, well, they get to see the stuff on the tutorial in action when I'm painting here. So it make a perfect little thank you for subscribing. So I just haven't really talked about it because it only just occurred to me a couple of days ago. And I figured, yeah, I'll figure out some way for folks that have subscribed to the channel, get them some love that way. I am going to definitely take some more of this yellow here. Because if he's running around on this little sand dune here, or whatever, this blasted earth thing, he certainly needs to have some of that on him. I do think so. There, let's get some more of the yellow on him here. I will lighten that up a touch. What's nice about the oils is that my thumb palette truly is my thumb palette. Because it stays nice and wet. I love the oil. There's so many different ways that these things are just incredibly helpful. I can take some of that out of there, and now I'm just moving back here, and then you can see that just gets spread around and mixed in with what's already there. With the oils, though, you have to be patient. Like Treebeard says, don't be hasty. Yep, okay. I just, every so often I try and check the chat here, make sure I'm not missing any questions or hellos, because we like hellos. I needed a little bit more of a light right there. So again, we'll take some of this paint away. And then we're just going to mix it a couple of brush strokes. All it takes. That is really all it takes. It is just that simple. Get ourselves some more lights over here too. This is more of the, basically your brown matter mixed with some of the titanium white. Now we'll go in, look at this. Just pull this out. Get ourselves our nice little blend right there. And even hours from now, I would still be able to manipulate that, which is incredibly cool. And look, I mean, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10 colors. That's about what I use. Maybe 11 or 12 if I need some kind of specialty thing, whatever. But that's a typical color range. You can see how I've been able to mix all the colors That's the other advantage of oils. You don't need a 400 freaking color paint set. And you can see that then there's not even much blending here. There's very little blending here. It's all happening right here. This is where you save the time. Now let's see, one advantage of living in Memphis, so human you can wet blend. Yeah, well, it's been, now did you guys get in on the 9 inches of rain in 72 hours like we had? That's why I couldn't do my second stream on Sunday. That's why these guys would all be painted with oils right now if it hadn't been for that. How's about some more lights over here? Bam, yes, yes, we need that on his foreleg there. Let's get his. Well, that's technically that's his wrist. I believe that would be his wrist. This would be actually his elbow. That would be his shoulder, I think. Yeah, just picking out some of these lighter areas. This is that sort of fun stage, right, where you can be a little bit more targeted, a little bit more delicate. I'm going to go into my blue-gray over here, get thinned down a little bit, and hopefully you can see the, yeah, right, this, I'm just picking that one muscle out, one strand of a muscle there. So that, again, I'm always debunking myths when I'm working with my oils, and one of them is that, well, you can't do any kind of detail stuff. You can't do detail stuff with oils. That's crazy talk. Might be crazy talk, but you can do it. How's about a little bit more of the, yes, 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 on this hoof here. Just going to try again, reflecting some of that sand, some of the sand color onto the horse there. Now, I need some on this side of his hoof too. Skin tones on him. What am I looking for here? Yes, I've got to give him a work on his nose just a bit. We'll give him some lighter touches on that. And I do realize that you're just inevitably going to get those crazy little reflections on the oil paint because it is wet. I mean, it is what it is. But hopefully, that's why I try and talk you through it. That's why there is no, well, there's never going to be any music playing on this channel, just because I don't want to have to be talking over it. Because my voice will not survive that. And we are trying to get through, so I try and make these as much of a lesson as possible. I'm going to definitely need some more of my lights in the skin tone right there. Okay, we need something going on in here. I'm going to double down, I think, on the blue maybe. Why not? So there's that. Again, I'm going to take the cerulean. I want to combine, this is a little bit of a preview of what I'll do on that undead, or the death elemental there. Let's see what that makes. That's an interesting sort of blue-green. And I want to try it on his, well, his saddle, for lack of a better term. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I was hoping it would be. I just needed something that had a little more blue in it. Again, thumb palette time here. And now we can blend this together. This is the other nice thing about oils. You can just, look at this, I can do an entire shift here. Just say, you know what, I'm going to try something entirely different, but yet I don't have to lose what's underneath there. That is still viable. And the blend is nice and smooth. No fuss, no muss. I will now go back to some, that's the Payne's Gray mixed with the Ivory Black to get myself a nice dark. We are thinning that down. Going to just pick out some strands of hair here in this tail. We shall do some on this side too. So the Payne's Gray, remember that is the bluish black, but then you get into the Ivory Black. That is essentially a very warm, almost very neutral slash dead grayish black. That is why we only use it in conjunction with other colors. That's why I kind of refer to it as an additive. That's why we added it to our brown at the start of this. So again, if I need to get a little more resolution between shapes, something like the Payne's Gray will do the trick right in there. Now, what else? I need some more separation right here, whereas this ponytail slash top knot thing begins. And I always say this, if at a certain point you can't make it any darker, there's only one path left to you. You gotta make it lighter. We're gonna do more than just make it lighter. We're actually taking some of this bluish green like we used in other parts of the horse's mane. We're gonna shoot that right in here. We will put that, I think, in a couple other places on our horse, on his mane. And it's going right, it's going next to the neck there. So we're going to have that contrast of that really deep brownish red on the neck, and then this crazy blue-green highlight on that here. Also, you can see, look at the bluish green there, and then look at how that gets almost like a yellow-green, again, reflecting this a little bit. And not reflecting in the sense of, say, like a sky earth metal type of reflection. But even your skin, well, okay, take a look at yourself in the mirror. If you are wearing a bright pink shirt, or a blue shirt, or a bright green shirt, your face will bear a stunning resemblance to that shirt. You are what you wear. You are also what you're standing on. So if you're standing on, I don't know, a red floor, well, that's going to reflect on your skin too. Or your clothes at the very least. I'm going to really get brighter here. I want to see some nice little separation here with this scabbard. I'm going to go into the burnt sienna here. See if I can make myself a nice... Again, this is another kind of almost like a typical flesh tone that I would do. And we're going to put that right in here. And then we'll grab our more of the regular burnt sienna, and then we're going to mix those together. We also, yeah, let's get this lighter version here. Heck, I'm still learning what's exactly on some of these figures here, because I did not study these things whatsoever before I started painting them in the demos. So a lot of this time I'm just going to go, oh, so that's what that shape is. Oh, so that's what that is. If I'm just sitting here painting the same stuff over and over again that I've done a million times, well, you'll get the sense that, yeah, you know, he's painted this a lot before. And if I can basically create that discomfort level for me, as we got Sleeper 447, thanks for joining. To me, that gives it's a little more value, because you'll get the sense that, well, yeah, you know, he's got to find his way through these things sometimes also. So maybe you just don't get quite so down on yourself, because I've seen people doing that. It's one of the reasons I kind of try and do as much of the teaching as I can, because I've seen so many folks just get bored with their miniature painting. They used to love it. It used to be their fun thing, but because they kept doing the same thing forever, it's not fun. I mean, that's kind of like what work is, doing the same thing forever. Miniature painting should be fun and new and different as often as possible. So I try to put the fun, the new, and the different. Unfortunately, new and different can also be scary, which is, like I said, that's why I try and put some of that where you guys are trying to discover, okay, what are these oils all about? I obviously have a wee bit of a head start on that because I have been working with them for years now. So I thought, okay, if maybe the miniature is something I've never really seen before, at least it's not going to be one of, okay, yeah, he's painted this Stormcast Eternal in red for the 12th time. Because I've gotten the sense now I've seen other people doing things. Sometimes I get the sense that, okay, yeah, this is something they're really comfortable with. And then there's the other folks that are willing to experiment and try things. It's like, ooh, especially doing that on screen. That's kind of a brave thing to do because, well, people will see you potentially, well, fail. That people ask me about this. They say, what if it goes horribly wrong? I say, well, I kind of almost set that up on purpose because, well, then they'll know. And then they won't have to go through that themselves. There was an instance where I did that. Oh yeah, I was trying to do a crackle paint thing or whatever, and I had no idea if it was going to work or not, and it just didn't work. At least not the way I thought it was. Now we're doing pinks in the metals because if it ain't got pink in it, it ain't metal. If you wonder what the heck is he talking about, that's here. I can see on that sword blade, you can see that pink that's resting in there. Sleeper asks, wonder if you could take a quick look at a miniature I'm painting right now. Actually, if you could, can you send me a whisper with the pictures? Because I will actually I'm going to be heading out and relatively soon here because it's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. But if you could somewhat private message me the picture or just, James Wappel on Facebook. I do that all the time because that way I can actually like really look at your pictures and stuff. So if you don't mind doing that, I've already done it a couple of times where folks said, hey, can you look at a picture? And I said, oh, could you maybe just send me the picture so I could really look at it close up? And then that way I could actually do the black and white thing. So now that we're at this point, let's do that here real quick. Let's go like this and go zoink. So you can see we got plenty of nice shading on our horse and the skin tone, shininess of the oils aside. We took away all the color. Now we bring the color back. This is a very fun thing. You can do this with your miniatures too. I think you can do it just with any old camera, your phone, right? Any phone has some kind of little software thing that will let you turn it black and white. Now this is that bluish green here. We're going to kind of throw out a few of these lighter colors here. I've been sort of staying away from the lightest lights because as soon as you go to those lightest lights, you're kind of trapped. Yes, definitely send me a message on Facebook. Almost every single day. Even today, I think 3 different people sent me pictures of miniatures to check out. And they asked, am I on the right track here? Or is this how this is supposed to turn out? Is this what the Sculpey is supposed to look like? So definitely do that. I got no problems answering questions. Do it all the time. So there we go. All right. I want to extend these here. And that's simple to do with oils because I'm just going to take that and literally just gotta pull that right down there. It's just so freaking easy. It is so easy. Oh yeah, it is hard to have proper feedback once you. Yeah, well, it's hard for me to do it here just because the setup was never really designed for streaming. It was designed for filming tutorials. So it was only just a couple of weeks ago where I was able to add a second monitor here. You know what? Before we head out, I got to get some light here on his neck. And I want to get some more green. And I'm going to really just, I'm going all out here with some of this bluish stuff here. I'm going to get that into his skin. Yes, I am. Now, we added that sort of green at the start, but now we're really going to get in here. Look at that. It's also thinned down. Also thinned down so I can really reach in there. There we go. And then I will just sort of blend that in. So nice to have that kind of a bluish green peek its way in there. That sort of, what's his name? The Boris look right there. The Frazetta type feel to the skin tones.